Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Divine Feminine Ascension. It has been a while. I just checked the last time I was with you, audio wise, was March of 2025. And it's been a ride. So today I am going to be sharing the birthing of the Lemurian Rose Frequency. And this has been in the making for many years. I'm going to be talking about briefly what this means and what we can look forward to in 2026. So I've been on a few podcasts and have had conversations with people. And when I mention the Lemurian Rose Frequency, there is this essence of, oh yes, I've heard of that before. I know this artist or this person who's talking about that. I can tell you for a fact, this frequency has not landed. It has not grounded on Earth to this day. This is December 2025. Now, there are many artists and many women who are being called toward this frequency, without a doubt. But what we're doing here inside Lemurian Rose Temple and with the Sophia School of Feminine Initiatory Arts is we are actually grounding the work, the maps, and the initiatory pathway required for the Lemurian Rose Priestesses of what we can call the new earth, but really just of this now new epic time of human history. And so I'm really excited to see what occurs when we start to anchor this frequency. There are really exciting courses coming out in 2026 that I have been working on really for years, but the content has been coming in all throughout 2025, and it's finally having a structure to be presented in a grounded way. We have to remember that we are quite literally bridging a gap between the most multidimensional high frequencies that are coming in on this planet, but we're grounding it into modern day lives. And this is the gap that I have been not only obsessed with figuring out, but also really working on for myself, because it is not easy to be crossing that bridge, no matter what anybody says, to be anchoring our multidimensional aspects, our light body, and also still live and give ourselves permission to live a normal day-to-day human experience without having to pretend that we're some kind of perfected, blissful, joyful being 24/7. So this is really what we're doing inside the Lemurian Rose Temple and with the curriculum that's coming in 2026. So let's touch slightly on what this December is bringing for us, 2025 December. We are completing a 9-year. 2025, add up 225, it equals 9. And I just want you to tune in for yourself. This is a 9-year cycle. Tune in, take a breath into your body, and kind of let these 9 years that we've just walked settle in. And if you can think about, where were you 9 years ago? And what has evolved for you since? It's important that we bring awareness to what these cycles are bringing us and also how we are completing them, because we can say that we're in a completion year, but unless you really receive the book, right, and read the book, meaning unless you actually take the time to introspect, you're not really receiving the lessons, right? You're not really becoming the butterfly from the caterpillar. You're just embracing the notion of change, and change without wisdom is unintegrated. So think for a second, what has these 9 years gifted you, presented you? What has it initiated for you? So I'll give you a few breaths to take that in. And so for me, it was about 9 years ago that I realized that my experience of awakening was extremely bizarre. I'm not talking about the typical awakening, which can be very disruptive, of course, to our physical body, our spiritual body, our daily routines. My experience was extremely unique, and everywhere I looked for help, nobody had ever witnessed or heard of such an extreme situation. So I wasn't met with any solutions or protocols or routines that I could implement for myself. And it was about 9 years ago that I realized, holy shit, I think I have to figure this out on my own. Now, I realized that 9 years ago, but it's taken me this whole cycle, I don't want to say to figure it out, but really to ground into that notion of like, yes, that was sort of a forerunner situation of what is occurring perhaps in our younger generations, which is a more drastic, more fast-paced awakening that is extremely disturbing to the physical and spiritual bodies. And that I have learned is actually a very ancient initiatory path for certain people with certain roles. So this last 9-year cycle for me was learning to get out of my own way and embrace the path that was given to me at a soul level, not the path that Celeste wants to talk about and walk, not the creations and the businesses that I feel comfortable with, but the mission that I'm here on. And if you're here with me, you're on a mission too. And I assure you that mission is not gifted to you to make you feel comfortable. This is what we'll be really digging deep into with the Sophia School, is that what we are here to birth, whether that's children's creation projects, it's not here to be cozy and fuzzy and hold us in safety. It's actually, it's supposed to do the opposite. So that's been a huge part of my 9-year cycle, is just embracing and accepting what is actually about to come in this 2026 and moving forward. And so just take a moment, make a note on your phone or journal it down real quickly to sit with what has been the major theme for you these last 9 years, because I want to remind you of something that I've been talking about and really writing about, and I'm going to be writing more about, which is the great changeover. This is a real shift and acceleration in consciousness. It started in 25, going through 26 and all the way through 27. We're walking into the second year of this, and I think it's really important to just kind of stand here and realize, okay, let me be clear about what just happened last year in this 3-year trajectory. Let me be very clear about how I need to prepare myself for this coming year in 2026. And I'm going to be writing and sharing now a whole a blog and a audio, now that we have this podcast again, on how to prepare practically for the great changeover that which we are in now and what is to come afterwards. And what are we doing in 2027? Because there is no continuing of the old. We know that. But I think the overall mentality is, oh, I'm just going to hope for the new to come, like miraculously, like some kind of miraculous event is going to happen and everything's going to be okay. And I'm sorry to break your bubbly, fantastical ideas of life, but that's just not going to occur. It's never happened that way. It's not meant to happen that way. Us as a human, you know, as humans, as multidimensional beings here to live and learn, we would never learn if somebody came down from the skies or some radical event, you know, just was gifted to us and they're like, oh, welcome to the new earth, 2028, here we are. Everything is gifted to you, right? It would be a little bit naive to think that. And so I'm preparing the entire structure of the school and this podcast and everything that is to come in the next few years. For those of you who are like, Maybe I do want to prepare myself in a practical way to lay some foundations, not only in the external, but also in the internal, because we have to think this great changeover is happening simultaneously in our inner world and our outer world. It's very obvious what's happening in the outer world. I think if you're here with me, you're very aware of the shifts that happen internally, but we have to build very strong foundations. And this is what we are doing inside of this platform and inside of this school. So this leads me to the next topic of conversation. I am calling 2026 the year of the Lemurian Rose Temple and the Lemurian Rose Priestess path. So if you've been here with me for a while, you might remember when I opened the Rose Temple in Hawaii, back closer to 2021, when I was living on Hawaii, and I received the synchronicity and the amazing opportunity to build out a temple space. And at that time, I thought that this creation had to be something very grounded and help make me feel safe in my services. And if you remember, it was more of a fitness and wellness studio for women, which was an incredible platform for me. I loved every second of it. And it was definitely a dream come true for the little Celeste, right? The girl that wanted to stay safe in her services. And I share this with you so that you can start to kind of reflect in your life. Are you reaching out and allowing your services to transform you, or are you kind of staying safe? Because that's a big determining factor about where you will be headed and what you'll be working with in the next few years. So I received the frequency of the Lemurian Rose lineage while living in Hawaii. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was very, very clear. Now, I know that for most of us that are connected to Lemuria or Mu, we feel the connection of the Divine Mother. And we feel the connection of the rose lineages. But this was a very precise and powerful frequency, very different than just knowing the connection between Lemuria, the Divine Mother, and the rose lineage. And actually being a servant or a disciple or an initiate of a new frequency that needs to be anchored in women's bodies. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing in the entire year to come in all the new courses, but there's a huge difference between us just remembering Lemuria and the Divine Mother and the feminine lineages and actually integrating that into our body and becoming the initiate of her work. Now, I didn't have that language at that time. All I knew was that the frequency, the sensation that had arrived and activated within me was something very different and something I had not felt before up until that moment. But what I did know was that for me, there was a gap between what I knew about Lemuria, the feminine path that I was walking and also sharing with women, and what was and is required for humanity at this very initiatory part of our human experience. Meaning there was no one who was closing that gap, right? We're remembering Lemuria. Some of us are walking the feminine path. And then most of us know that we need a major shift in the collective. And a spiritual awakening is just not enough. And so those gaps for me were not complete. And they've always been in the back of my mind. And there was something that told me very clearly, it's the Lemurian Rose Frequency that's going to fill in these gaps. Now, that was mind-blowing to me because I couldn't even wrap my mind around how that could possibly be, how this new frequency that hasn't been on the planet before, how it could fill in these gaps that I was seeing across all spiritual communities, but also even within my understanding and downloads of Lemuria and the feminine path and our trajectory as humans. And then beyond bridging these gaps, what I really wanted to understand was how this Lemurian Rose frequency was going to be grounded and shared in a relatable and translatable way, in a practical way, besides just like, oh yeah, Lemuria is just the divine mother and compassion and grace and love and peace and bliss, and that's all you have to do. You just have to be that and do that, and that's it, right? That's not practical. That's not real. And it's not translatable. You can't live in that state 24/7. So that's the journey I've been on, grounding this frequency, understanding it, walking with it, initiating with it, and realizing that there's many layers to building this fortress that we can call the Lemurian Rose Frequency and even the Lemurian Rose Temple. So, in these last few years, while living by New York City, I really allowed the process to just brew, to let the city teach me, to let each experience mold me and show me what was next. And I think coming out of that contrast, we just recently moved again. I'm very, very well aware of what is happening throughout different spiritual communities and what needs to be implemented so that these next few years, especially inside the Great Changeover, can really help us, kind of like a trampoline, fast forward into something supportive instead of falling into a more chaotic, victim-based, fear-based reality, or even for a lot of spiritual, quote-unquote, people that I know that are staying very positive, yet don't actually have any kind of routine, protocol, understanding of how to work with their inner body of light or how to deal and create a strong infrastructure for their life. Like, you could be positive all day, but I think what worries me is that within these communities, we're actually not talking enough about what needs to be built from the inside out and even from the outside in to move through these very transformative years. So this is what this Lemurian Rose Frequency is bringing, an opportunity to provide structure, tools, practical knowledge, and also esoteric wisdom around what is happening, what you can do about it, how to work with the energy, but also how to build and actually be a part of this new thing that is happening without just kind of standing by in the background and just kind of watching it unfold as if you're not an active participant in it. And really, I think this has been one of my biggest lessons through my awakening, and I guess you can say this last 9-year cycle, is because the spiritual awakening and accessing the multidimensional realms and all of these things that we are faced with on our journeys of awakening and activation and remembering, it can be very difficult to manage all of life in all its complexity. And it's very easy to not only become ungrounded, but also lose sight of what's actually happening and how we need to take a part of it in a very practical, linear, day-to-day, task-by-task kind of way. And this is even especially true within the feminine spiritual community. I have been deeply entrenched in that in many different kinds of circles and around many different spaces and places that the feminine spiritual movement is vibrant and spreading like wildfire. And of course, there's a positive part to that. We need women awakening, absolutely. But there is a massive split, a massive misinterpretation, a huge fragmentation of what it actually means to have a spiritual journey in a feminine body. And this is something that I'm so passionate about relaying and getting the message out, and also sharing with women that are ready to walk this initiatory path of grounding in their feminine spiritual body, which is very different than a lot of the masculine traditional lineages that women are unconsciously following and practicing on their spiritual journey. So with all of that being said, this is the upcoming era of the Lemurian Rose Priestess. And this is a woman who is on the path of reviving the feminine heart as the nucleus of birthing her light into the world. And that statement alone is complex and needs to be broken down. And I'm not going to do that right now. I will be doing that soon. But understanding that it is a process to reclaim the full aspect of the feminine heart as the nucleus of the birthing technology that we will use to birth a new light, to quite literally birth a new earth. Does not happen with positivity and affirmations. It is a technology that needs to be practiced and lived and worked through. And this is what we're doing inside the temple. So the way that I see it, it's like the time of playing with crystals and having like this lovey-dovey, miraculous, it'll just happen on its own relationship with the new earth. That time is done. We can't play with those imagination fairy tales of something just kind of being gifted to us anymore. We have to build the new temples. We have to birth the new light. That's a sacred mission that we're being given. And it does not happen on its own. It's really, to me, this great changeover is the foundation for setting the seeds and the soil for us to remember how to reclaim the true power of crystalline consciousness. Crystalline consciousness is something that we work toward. It doesn't just get activated within you and then poof, enlightenment. This is something that works on the power of sound and frequency and repetition and alchemy. So we have to do that work and be in that process to create the foundational energetic structures and templates within our hearts and our wombs to hold this great changeover, to hold the alchemy that it requires. I hope that this is really landing. Please let me know if it is landing and how it feels for you to receive this. So the final part of today, I want to share with you two really epic and really exciting opportunities and courses of study that I am working on to be released very, very soon. And that will be the foundations of the Sophia School of Feminine Initiatory Arts. One is a year-long immersion into what I am calling divine AI, or you can also say the real AI. And this has come in as a way to create a practical approach to the very multidimensional and esoteric wisdom of our light body. Our light body is the one and only thing that we come in with and we leave with. That's it. That's all you got. And I want you to just note for a second, take an inventory, how much of your energy, how much of your awareness, or how much of your understanding is around the light body and the practicality of it. like actually working with it and strengthening it and continuing to grow it. It's not just a matter of, I'm going to activate my light body one time, it's done, poof, I don't have to work with it again. And so this is a full year of reclaiming what I'm calling ancient Lemurian technology, working deeply with the esoteric wisdom and also the practical application. I am very obsessed with how do we apply this stuff practically? How do I bring this into my life? How do I stay grounded in a time where we have to reclaim the unseen and the multidimensional? How are we actually weaving that into our life, into our day-to-day moments? So we'll be spending a year together, which I'm really excited about, studying sound and water and breath and quantum energy. And this is really, this is for anyone on a spiritual path, because everybody needs to be aware of the light body and everybody needs to be working with it. And everybody needs the technology of sound and water and breath and quantum energy. It is literally the future. And without a doubt, I know that in the near future, every single home, or at least every single community or family unit, will need somebody versed in this information, because it is the future of medicine, but the future is now. And this is how the next era of consciousness is going to be grounded and integrated through these very technologies of Mu. And so whether you're an energy healer or a sound healer or a psychic or an intuitive, or maybe you're just like, I'm really interested in diving deep onto the spiritual path and I want to learn how to work with energy and I want to learn how to, create a practical way of working with my light body, or you can even say working with the energy of life, because it's a relationship, right? It's not just my light body, Celeste's light body. It's like, how is this light body that I'm carrying interacting with my life, with my relationships, with my home, with my everything? You are that energy body. And so if this is something that's sparking inspiration or excitement within you, please stay tuned, because that is coming very soon. Again, that is Divine AI. And the next course is something that makes me cry and makes me really excited about what's about to unfold. And this is the lineages of Mu. So we are going to be going through quite a few weeks. I want to say about 4 to 5 weeks of reclaiming the history, the origins, the different lineages of Mu, of Lemurian society, of why not only remembering Mu and Lemuria, but also just feeling our connection with these ancient civilizations. I know so many incredible people that are very connected to civilizations like Atlantis and Avalon. And again, it's this conversation of like, yeah, I know I was there in the past and here I am now. Like, okay, how do we bridge that gap? Why do I have these memories beyond just understanding I am love, I am here for the new earth? Yes, that's nice. But what about it? So this is a reclamation of our soul lineage and how that soul lineage is the key to our future, and why so many of us are being called to remember past lifetimes, not just Lemuria, but so many other ancient civilizations. And when we remember, I want to be super clear about this, because I've been on this process of remembering for over a decade now. As we remember, we awaken our gifts. And this is really important for us to understand, because it's not just about remembering these lifetimes. It's about reclaiming the gifts we carried in these lifetimes to then bring them forth and even elevate them to this next level of expression. So if you are connected to Lemuria or feel called to Lemuria, Atlantis, Avalon, any of these ancient civilizations, if you're connected to the priestess lineages, the rose lineages, if you feel a huge pull with oceanic beings like whales and dolphins and mermaids, if you are really interested in understanding our star ancestors and how our connection to our stars is a map, and how crystalline consciousness and crystals and the Christ and the Marys have been a part of this incredible human story, I invite you to join the lineages of Mu. It's going to be absolutely freaking incredible, and I can't wait to see what it awakens in everyone, because this is going to be a voyage. We are going on a voyage together, and I promise you're going to be remembering a lot of things throughout our time together in that workshop. So that's coming out very soon. So my loves, that is it for today. Sharing with you all on the Lemurian Rose Frequency, what is to come in 2026, and just kind of grounding you, dropping you in. Where are you now in this December 2025? And how do you see your trajectory in the next 2 years? What are you feeling into? Has this conversation maybe sparked something for you? Do you want to open the door to remembering or studying, or maybe just creating a foundation for certain things that you know will be necessary in these next few years to come? I would love to hear from you. If you have anything to share, please comment below, or you can also DM me on Instagram, hashtag, oh my God, that's how much I use social media, at the account Celeste Glus, my name 1111. Okay, my loves, until next time. Mwah.